My name is Tara Labar. I am glad to see everyone here with us this afternoon. I am the Associate Director for Academic Affairs with Kansas Board of Regents, and I am also your state coordinator for the Apply Kansas campaign. And this kicks off our first training for the 2023 campaign. So thank you for joining me. I'm warning you today, right now, this is going to be an interactive session. So be ready. As I multitask a little bit and let some folks in and get started, I will give you a tiny bit of background and kind of let you know that I start off all of my application information sessions. I did this when I was a high school counselor. I do this with my Apply Kansas sessions, is that when we talk about college, I talk about college with a little c, meaning I talk about college as kind of an umbrella of all post-secondary education pathways that cover any education after high school. So another catchy way to say that is 1, 2, 4, or more years of education beyond high school. And so there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of things that can go on. People have preconceived notions that when we talk about Apply Kansas, we're only talking about undergraduate degrees. We're only helping students that are going to apply to college or to a four-year college. And that's just simply not true. Apply Kansas is about the premise that we are going to celebrate, we are going to educate, we're going to talk about all the different pathways. And the reality is, yes, application to a bachelor's degree is probably more complicated than some of the other ones, but we are going to educate, we're going to talk about, we are going to value, and we're going to support everything from jobs to a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, a certificate, anything our students want to do and pursue, we're going to support that. That's part of the Apply Kansas program. So I want to start our training and our conversation kind of with that premise, and I would encourage you to do the same with your parents, with your students, because I think it sets the tone for just allowing students to think and parents to know that we are supportive with whatever they want to imagine and think about. Now, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into more about Apply Kansas. And I would love everybody to take a second, and if you could change your name on your Zoom link, and maybe put your high school. So maybe maybe your first name and your high school. So as we do some breakout sessions and you talk to each other, we get an idea of where you're located. So if your whole name and your high school doesn't fit, that's fine. Just kind of get creative and change your name, first name, and then maybe something that represents where your high school is. That would be great, because then that gives us an idea of where you are across Kansas. The other piece is, like I said, we're going to do some activities. We're going to do some discussion. We are going to, please feel free to use the chat. Questions. I'm going to throw you into some breakout rooms here in a second. I'm going to encourage you to be off camera as much as possible so that you can interact with each other, because this really, I think, is the benefit, one of the benefits of Apply Kansas. There's nothing in this that is rocket science. You guys are already helping your students get ready for their post-secondary plans. A lot of this you're doing, it's a part of your counseling curriculum. It's a part of what you're already doing. But what I hope to do is connect you with other professionals across the state so that you can share ideas with each other and get really cool. There are cool things happening across Kansas. And if I can share that with you guys, if I could share, I haven't figured out a great way to share all the cool things that I hear happening from the schools that I get to work with. So anyway, this is my fourth campaign, and this is my another stab at trying to get that information and connect you guys with each other. So even though we're virtual, we'll try a new way to do that. So as we jump in, here we go. So what is Apply Kansas? For the folks that are new to us, it's our statewide campaign where high schools conduct events to help seniors apply to college or other post-secondary destinations. That's really what Apply Kansas is. Nuts and bolts. We are a part of a national larger campaign. We are one of 51 college application campaigns run from ACT Center of Equity and Learning. Apply Kansas joined the national campaign in 2015, and you can see some of the other regional logos and states that also host application campaigns around the country. So, okay. So now I'm going to break us up into some breakout rooms, and I want you to talk about your Apply Kansas event. Now, if you're new, don't panic. Okay. If you haven't ever done Apply Kansas, that's okay. You can still talk about what you've done to get your seniors ready for college. That's totally legal. If you are a pro, talk about what you've done, what your Apply Kansas event has looked like in the past, and share some of your experience. But I'm going to break you up into breakout rooms. Turn on your cameras. You can quick introduce yourself, but we're going to really take about 5 minutes to talk with each other. Then we'll come back, and I want to hear kind of, well, I've got some questions for the large group about that. What things, from your events that you've done, or the things that you've done, what are things that are like critical to your success? Are there any things that are just like, oh my gosh, I have to do this or it doesn't work? How has your event changed over the years? And are there any like good crash and burn stories? Like, oh, I tried this and it was a disaster, kind of things. And like I said, feel free to go off mic. You can type in the chat if you want to. However you feel like you want to share would be great. I'd love to hear, anything you want to share.
My biggest thing that makes it more fun, and I've gotten better as I've gone along. I'm Jennifer in Deerfield, so that's that. End of the world, really close to it, like almost there. I email out a bunch of colleges, and I'm talking like, I don't care if it's Harvard, I don't care if it's Yale, I don't care. Like, I will email colleges, I'll go to web pages, whatever. If I got feedback from them last year, I try to keep that email in my like email stash. But I try to email all these colleges out and ask them for swag at the beginning of the year. And so they start sending me shirts and pins and lanyards and cups and pennants, and I've decorated my whole area. I have half of the library is our college center, and it's all decorated with stuff that they sent. But then once if they send it every year, it goes into a tub. And as we do things on our Apply Kansas Day, they win swag. So they get all the little goodies that the colleges send me and everything like that. So that's been one of the things that I feel like when the kids like feel like, even if it's a lanyard or a pin and they think they're getting something from a college, they think it's really cool. Like, look at all of us when we go to fairs and we get the little bag of pens because we're obsessed with like free stuff. Our kids are the same way. So like, have the free stuff, like get it from the colleges, email them, whatever. I usually start with the admissions office. If you don't have an email for a direct person, email the admissions office and they'll get it to the right people. Literally, we just started doing games and stuff like that with our kids and getting our whole staff involved. And that made it really a lot more fun last year for everybody. Like, we just spent the whole morning, the kids played bingo and with staff, and they had to like find staff who met the qualifications of the statement. They all sent a statement about their college, and they had to go find out what teacher made that statement about college or their career path or whatever. And then everybody at school wore college t-shirts, like their alma maters and stuff like that. And like, we made a big deal about it. And so, and the kids and we played games and we did quizzes and we invited other colleges in and bought pizza. The colleges brought pizza. We bought some pizza. And so as they finished applications, they got to get a couple slices of pizza and stuff like that.
Cool. Thank you. Other stories. Logan wrote in the chat, just promoting the heck out of his event is critical.
Hey, Tara. This is
Hi.
Lacey from Great Bend. Yeah, this isn't so much a crash and burn, but something we thought, oh, we won't do that again next year. We didn't pay real good attention to our school calendar, and our homecoming week was not marked on our printed calendar when we planned our event. And so we hosted through the afternoon and evening, and we had no students or parents come in the evening because of homecoming stuff. But so going into this year, we're like, okay, we really need to be mindful of the days that we pick. And so that was kind of something that we learned the hard way last year.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
hard to compete with homecoming for sure.
That's so funny because I have started having mine during homecoming week because we do a lot of school activities that we pull kids from classes from, and the teachers are like, hey, if we're gonna be pulling them out of classes, like let's just mess up the whole week, you know. So I've started doing it then because that's a regular time that everyone can get used to. Hey, on the Wednesday of homecoming week, the seniors are gonna be doing this.
And so, Jamie, that is a perfect example of why this is how we do the program, because it is literally like what works for your community may not work for someone else's community and vice versa. Like literally sometimes opposites work for someone and they absolutely don't work in another. And it completely makes sense in both cases.
Something for me, we're a small district, but I always have volunteers. So it just so happened I had like a recent graduate that needed volunteer hours for a social work program at her college, and she was close enough and could come home. And that was like the best because she was so newly graduated and could relate so well to them. And I've also had college admission reps come and volunteer. So that's been critical, just them connecting with my students. It's somebody else encouraging them and telling them, helping them along the way.
What a great use of like recent grads too. Other things? I know some schools have put together folders and packets, like done some prep with their students.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that was big for us was helping the kids understand what it was, and also helping them understand that, because when they thought of apply, that was the understanding that we were applying for schools, and they were focusing on the 4-year schools. So helping them understand it was 2-year technical, 4-year, even talking to those students that I knew were going into the workforce, having them bring their applications. And if they were thinking of applying, we have different, like a factory type job here. If that's what they were telling me they were going to apply for, like having them pull that up that day. Still, we had some that still didn't want to come because they didn't think that was accurate. But when I got them there, they were like, oh, I should text so-and-so, he should come do this because you really are helping us fill out job applications. So it was just, I think I can do a better job of making sure parents and students are aware that we're applying for jobs, military, like whatever the application is, will help them do it that day.
That's great. And I think we talked a lot in our trainings this past week and a bit about sometimes that job group can be a tricky group to work with. And there's a lot of different things. I've heard a lot of different ideas on how to work with that group. And so I think if you've got an idea, or if you've got something that's worked, I'd love to compile a list of things to do with students who say they want to go and work a job after high school. Because I think having a list that we could share with schools, or having a resource probably would be really helpful, because again, that can be a challenging group to know what to do with that on that day. But Jill, like you said, sometimes it's a misconception. And we know sometimes students use that as I'm going to go work. And that's their code for, I don't want to do anything, or that's what I'm going to say to get out of, but I think that goes back to, how do we use that prep? How do we prepare students for Apply Kansas? And again, touching base with the IPS, looking at that, making either a list of what institutions they want to apply to, what are their next steps, what are their plans for after high school, and really letting them lead the way, but making those steps and preparing before the day, I think is really how you do that, is really a critical piece. So as we talk about kind of the nuts and bolts of hosting your Apply Kansas event, we can talk about, I love this picture from Donovan West, because I think it shows like I don't know if there was, I just think this in a snapshot is Apply Kansas. It's the pennants, and the pennants really seem to be something that many of our high schools really love. Our students love them, our counselors use them. They have, you can write on there where they applied, and a lot of our high schools will then use the pennants and hang them up in the cafeteria where everyone can see them, or they hang them up and, you know, put DHS in their cafeteria or wherever, right? And it's really just something that's kind of the crux of what Apply Kansas is about. And with that being said, if we have 200 high schools in Apply Kansas, we have 150 different ways to do Apply Kansas. And so we have high schools that don't use the pennants either. So that's the other piece that I love about Apply Kansas, is that I really want you to find the way that fits your students and your community. So really the nuts and bolts of Apply Kansas every year is, number one, you're going to plan for your event. So you're going to register each fall, you're going to order your promotional items, you're going to attend a training just like you are today, you're going to select your Apply Kansas date. Okay. So, and so far you should have done all of those things. And then you're going to promote your event. You're going to talk to your community about which day you've selected. And we're going to talk about Why Apply, which is the National Why Apply Day. And we're going to do an activity in a little bit about Why Apply that you can actually do with your faculty too. But this is a national promotion day, to encourage your students on why do they want to apply for something? Why do they want to take those steps and do something after high school, right? Then, like we talked about, you want to prepare your seniors before the event. So making their college lists, attending a college fair, doing an application worksheet, right? Again, that's that preparation. If you bring every student to the library and sit them down in front of a computer and they have not done some type of application worksheet or something like that, you're going to have 50 students going, what's my address? What's my social security number? What am I doing? And it's no fun for anyone, trust me. So I've got application worksheets on our website, printing off an unofficial transcript for them so that they have a record of their classes, their GPA, their academic information, updating their IPS, as far as what they've been thinking about. Again, all those things are things you can do in that classroom lesson prior to your application day. You could even do something as informal as like a scavenger hunt, where you say, make a list of where you want to apply, attend a college fair, go on a college visit, 5 or 6 things that they can do, fill out your application worksheet, blah, blah, blah. And if you do 3 of these things and you show me, then you get a free swag item on the day of, so there's so many different ways. But again, incentivizing students, your seniors, to do this prep before they come to Apply Kansas. And then you host your event and you celebrate. And this is where you show on social media, use your stickers, use your pennants, and celebrate every pathway. Every pathway is important. And the more that you can show the underclassmen, the more you can get them excited about when's it going to be my turn to do Apply Kansas. And oh my gosh, so-and-so's going here and so-and-so's applying there and so-and-so's doing this. And it starts them thinking about all the different pathways and all the different ideas that are open to them. And then thinking about how you want to collect that data from your students. How do you want to collect all the applications that they submit during this fall season? And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then obviously prepping your students and families for FAFSA following those applications. So that's kind of your application, your Apply Kansas in a nutshell. Also, as we go along today, don't hesitate to write questions in the chat, raise your hand features, all those things. Stop me as we go. Like I said, we're going to stop and talk about different things, but I kind of want to put these things in your radar. And as we talk about web pages, remember they're all on those linked pages, that linked page in the Google Doc for you. So your one-stop shop for you as site coordinator, all the things that I just showed you are on the Apply Kansas webpage. I'm going to put the recording of this training along with the PowerPoint presentation with live links on the Apply Kansas webpage and the site coordinator webpage. On the left, we've got the Apply Kansas webpage with links to register, all of that And then on the right, you've got your site coordinator webpage. I've already kind of reworked that for this year. At the very top, we've got the 2023 Apply Kansas Site Coordinator Manual. If you're new this year, I would encourage you to just take a look. It's going to have a lot more detailed information than what I'm going to be able to go through in this training. So again, for my new schools, this might be a kind of a good thing to kind of look through. If you're just not totally sure where to start, or if you're looking for new ideas, this is a great place to be. The site coordinator page is going to give you everything I just showed you, all of those categories: plan your event, promote your event. Each one of these is going to have several different, breaking that out, and different links and different connections for you under each of those categories. And so that's really where that, and breaking that down for you. And then at the bottom will be some good counselor resources with lots of worksheets and pages and things for you. This is also where you will find that checkout sheet, or that survey. Just some reminders. My goal is I never want to make you do it a certain way. There's so many different ways to do this, and we have so many different schools. And part of the reason why I think this works so well, and I love hearing all the different ways that you guys do Apply Kansas. I want to give you all the resources that you can build a great program from the bottom up, but I'm never going to make you run your event a certain way. Because what works in Southwest Kansas doesn't necessarily work in Kansas City, Kansas, and nobody knows your school and your community better than you do. And so I want everyone to have the freedom to do what works best for their school, their community, their students. So everything that I talk about today, feel free to take it and adapt it for what works in your community. Apply Kansas events are for all seniors, and you can target a specific group of students with your application activities, meaning not everybody needs the same touch. So if you've got a group of students that are doing great, filling out applications, they've got parental support, they're doing it, they're awesome, they are Apply Kansas students, count them in your data, support them, give them freebies, and let them run, support them where they need you, and let them go, and spend your time working with the students that need more help, right? It's all the same. It's all Apply Kansas, and help the students that need more help. It's good. Not everybody needs the same amount of support, and give yourself permission to do that and call it all Apply Kansas. Okay. It used to be that it was like, oh, well, if they didn't fill out applications on that one day, it didn't count. That's not it anymore. You're an Apply Kansas school. It all counts. All of your students count. They're all getting help from you. They can get different levels of help. You can make some activities less optional for students because maybe they need a little bit more encouragement or support and we're going to talk about those students that maybe fly under the radar a little bit more. So we're going to talk about what we can do with those students. Also, think about your K-12 schools, community organizations, libraries. Are there ways to kind of get those younger students more involved, or community organizations or libraries, other people in your community that can help you with this? And if this thought gives you a headache, then don't think about it. It's okay. But if there's ways to make this easier or more fun or more incorporated, then go for it. I love that idea. That's a great thing to do if it helps. The only thing I'm going to require for you is collecting student data and completing the summary report each fall. That's really the requirement that I have, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So have some freedom to make it work for you. Okay, so required components. Create an event with at-risk students in mind. So always be thinking about, how am I reaching our at-risk students? Collect summary data from all your seniors participating in Apply Kansas, and celebrate all completed applications. They're all equal, they're all valued, they're all important. And remember, post-secondary planning is not a one-size-fits-all process. Okay, so your Apply Kansas event should reflect all of the different paths and all of the different interests of your students. Sometimes I hear from the grapevine that there are Apply Kansas events or our site coordinators that will bring an entire class of students to the library and sit them down at the computer and say, everyone has to fill out 3 college applications. Okay, I'm here to tell you on the record that is not Apply Kansas. I think it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the students' time. It is a waste of it's not a good use of our institution's time. That's not, Kansas is based on the IPS system, right? Individual plan of study. And if we're working with our students and we're having them work on where they're going and we're teaching them all the pathways and we are working with them on what they're interested in, then we shouldn't be telling every senior to do the same thing, just blanket. We should be teaching them, we should be helping them follow their pathways. And that shouldn't look like filling out 3 university applications for every student. Now, with that being said, like I said, we may have some students that say, well, I'm just going to take a gap year. I'm just going to go work, because they don't have a plan and their feet are kind of firmly planted in some concrete and they're scared. They're paralyzed. They don't know what to do. There's some life lessons in completing a community college application that's free, and that's okay too, but that's very different than completing 3 college applications too. So again, think through that, and it shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all process for every senior. That's not what Apply Kansas should look like. And I think we can all probably agree that's not best practice. So I don't know that, like I said, I don't think that's happening by and large across Kansas. And my guess is it's probably not happening for most of you either. But if you hear of a neighbor that's doing it or something, you might just say, hey, it doesn't take much to kind of do a lesson here, and let your seniors do what they want to do. Let them lead the process, because again, if they get invested, it's really so much more valuable for everybody in the process. So sorry, soapbox speech over. All right, now I'm going to break you out into groups again. I want to think about those at-risk students now. The ones that are underachieving with their post-secondary goals. They're kind of flying under the radar, maybe marginalized. Yes, definitely we want to start with those traditional at-risk definitions, right? I want to talk about our low socioeconomic students. I want to talk about our students of color. I want to talk about our first generation students. And I want you to think about your senior class. Who are you worried about this year? Who's not likely to get those applications? Who needs Apply Kansas this year? And is there something you can do to target those students? Who are you worried about in the senior class? And we're going to talk about who we're worried about this time, or who needs Apply Kansas. And if you have an idea of maybe how you can target them, or who you're thinking about that might need an extra touch this year in Apply Kansas. I messaged out, I said, kind of nominate a spokesperson from each of your breakout rooms. Who were some of the populations that we talked about, or what were some of the groups that came up in our discussions?
Our group just talked about how using IPS in advance to having our Apply Kansas event. And so making sure, like, I don't even remember his name, but he did a great job of talking about making assignments within something like Zello. So that way each week they're working on something else in preparation for Apply Kansas. Just that way they aren't just coming in and just sitting at you like deer in headlights type of thing. They have things ready to go and questions probably ready to ask. And a lot of people talked about getting that done before, or they're having parent-teacher conferences with student-led conferences before going into Apply Kansas, just that way they can talk to parents.
Oh, it's me. I'm shy. So I had a lot of like, my thing is we're a high EL population. We have a lot of kids coming from Honduras and Guatemala with their families and working in our feed yards and dairies and that kind of stuff. My struggle has been with any of the like financial aid and applying for colleges. They don't have the resources to be able to get financial aid. They can't apply for FAFSA. So I had to kind of switch. This is my 4th year, so I've been doing it like I found that out my first year, like, oh, like they can't do the FAFSA, they can't get financial aid, they can't do that kind of stuff. So it's been trying to get them really get them service through the college while they're in high school with certifications. So like that's where my focus has been, because they're probably not going to go to college, and they're not going to pay out of pocket for college.
Right.
I joined forces with like my migrant coordinator, my newcomers coordinator, those kinds of things, and we work with the families that way. But I do have one success. She graduated. She was my first year. This is my one she was my learning student, like, and she's now transferring to Fort Hays. She got her 2 years at associates at Garden State Community College. And we just worked really hard at finding scholarships that she did qualify for until she could get documented. And that was like a process and a half. And so she's been gone 3 years now, and she's attending Hayes online right now, virtually, for a semester, and working at home, and like working here, but she's still attending to get her teaching degree. But now she has a social security number, and we can file, and I helped her. She still came back to me, and I helped her file for FAFSA. But it's just like making that connection, like, and understanding like the needs of where your kids are. Like, that didn't cross my mind my first year, like what you needed to have in order to apply to colleges, and what you need to have to apply for FAFSA. And like, I just had it, so I never thought about people who didn't. And so that was my big eye opener. And so I always have to really look at who my kids are in my class. And it sounds like a weird question, but I ask them, do you have a social security number? Were you born in the United States? Like, you have to have those conversations where I live, because that's the world I live in.
Yep. Yeah.
We have probably 75% socioeconomic low income kids. And so when I got your email that said that they'd moved the free application days into November, I was like, oh great, we have other activities planned that week for other things. And so I still probably will try to do it in October, but we've got so many kids that need that free application time that I'll probably have to do something else with them. We also have, I would say, one of the highest percentages of special needs and EL group in this senior class, and some that missed the cutoff. And so we've got a really high level of or high number of kids that have needs. And so even out of a group of 18 kids, I would say maybe 11 to 12 of them are really in need of help. So it may be a challenging year to do this, and definitely will probably take more than one day.
Yeah. And I think that's good. And the other thing that I want everybody to think about is that you don't have to do it all in 1 year.
Something we do in Ulysses is for our students that are wanting to go into the job force but aren't necessarily sure like what job they're going to get or pursue, we have gone around town and just asked for copies of blank job applications from various businesses. And then we just copy those and just have an assortment for those students to just practice filling out, so they kind of know what that will look like that day.
Oh yeah, great. Just like a practice job application. Perfect.
Our group talked about our students that maybe aren't likely to graduate high school at all, and trying to kind of make sure they apply for something, or kind of have that like light at the end of the tunnel when you're like dragging them across the stage.
Yeah. right? It's hard to talk about post-secondary stuff when you can't even get them to focus on right now, right? I mean, you can't even get them to get the diploma. That's a tough group. Absolutely.
Yes, piggybacking off that, yeah, we also have a group here that I think are feeling pressure from home to go be a breadwinner for the home. And how do you delicately balance the needs of the family with helping the kids keep dreaming, so that's an obstacle.
That's a really hard thing. Absolutely. And you're not the only community that deals with that. How do you balance those two things? There's a lot of fear. Thank you for bringing those groups to the forefront. And again, like I said, every year, it's not like they change, and it's not like we have a lot of good answers, but our senior classes change. And so while I'm probably going to ask you this question every year. I think it's a good question to ask yourself every year. I never ever want it to sound like we want to downplay or not think about our traditional at-risk students. Like, yes, we always want to focus on our students of color, our first generation students, our underrepresented students, our low income students. Those are always going to be important groups, but our senior classes change, our communities change every single year. We might be dealing with chronic absenteeism. We might be dealing with, like, every year it fluxes too. And so I want you to have the flexibility to adapt your Apply Kansas to the needs of your students and your senior class with whoever, how that senior class changes. I mean, that sometimes you go from a really high achieving class to kind of a not so high achieving senior class between years too. So that can sometimes be a fluctuation, and how you work with those students can vary as well. So Apply Kansas can fluctuate like that too. I want you to be able to think about that and adjust from year to year to meet the needs of your students and support the students that need you that way. Okay, so new thing, Kansas Apply Free Days, brand new. This is really exciting stuff. November 7th through 9th, starting Tuesday, midnight on Tuesday, November 7th through 11:59 on Thursday, November 9th. All of our Kansas public and private universities and colleges are going to be free applications. This is really exciting. A brand new initiative, something they've been doing in Colorado for a little bit. I've been trying to get this going for us for a couple years. So I'm thrilled to be able to announce it. Yes, it's in November, which is not October. I'm aware of that. But it is better than not having it. It is what we could do. And in working with the admissions directors at the various universities at the late date that we could do it. And again, with the college fairs schedule that was already posted, the wonky FAFSA that was already out, it was the best date that we could all kind of compromise and agree on with the schedules that were created. So my hope is that if it stays, next year we can get it pushed back into October, but this year it's November. Okay. So anyway, what this means is Kansas residents, only Kansas residents who wish to apply for admission to a Kansas public or private college or university can submit an undergraduate or general admission application for free anytime between these 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, November 7th through 9th. The idea is that they will apply and not pay. All right, now, the universities are still working on how this is going to work. So if for some reason your students apply and they're asked to pay, do not let them pay. All right, do not let them pay. I don't really know how it's going to work in the Common App, I don't really know. Like I said, the university is still working on that. Do not let them pay in these 3 days. Now, if they pay on November 5th or 4th or November 10th or 11th, they can't ask for a refund either. That's not a thing. So it's only in these 3 days. My hope is that they won't pay. That's not how it's supposed to work, you know, all that stuff. But like I said, if for some reason they apply and ask them to pay, don't let them pay. Just tell them not to pay. Don't let them pay. I don't think that's going to be how it is, but I'm just saying that we're still working out the kinks, you know, all that. Haley, go ahead.
I'm curious how, what you advise, and maybe you're going to get to this, the priority scholarship deadlines. Like K-State, WSU is December 1. Like, I feel like maybe that's doable, but I know like Fort Hayes is November 15th. And do you think that's even feasible if they wait for those 7th, 8th, and 9th to then turn around and get those applications done?
Okay, so the only priority deadline that is before this free window is WSU's selective scholarship application. That's the only one, okay? WSU's selective scholarship application, they still have their application deadline, which is October 15th, and then their scholarship deadline is November 1st. From what I've been told, and it was several weeks ago, they are not changing. I don't know that for certain. I would encourage you to still ask WSU what the status is. That's the only deadline that I know of in the system that is before this date. KU, December 1st, priority deadline. KSU, December 1st, priority deadline. Pittsburgh State, no application fee ever, not there. Let's see, Washburn, no application fee ever. Emporia State, she is she is in the process of trying to work away from her application fee. The application fee is on right now as of September. It will turn off on October 1st and it will be off through November 9th. So Emporia will not have an application fee for the entire month of October through November 9th through the end of this. So essentially ESU will be free for all of Apply Kansas. But like I said, she's working on getting rid of her application fee as well for ESU. So really, and Fort Hayes has essentially kind of a rolling priority deadline. So they are good. They are good. They do not have an earlier priority deadline, scholarship deadline. So we are good there. What WSU is the only one that has one earlier, and it is their scholarship, their selective scholarship application. That's the only one I know of. So just to kind of hit a fine point on this, first-time freshmen, yes, they can absolutely apply free during these days. Adult learners can apply free. Students on free and reduced lunch can apply free without a waiver. Students not on free and reduced lunch can apply free without a waiver. Students who qualify for free and reduced lunch can use their waiver all year long anyway. KU, K-State, and WSU, their fee waivers are embedded within their applications now. So they do not need an extra piece of paper or fee waiver to waive that fee for KU, K-State, and Wichita State. So if you work with a large population of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch or qualify for those fee waivers, you could probably still hold your event in October. This window doesn't really apply to your students then, because they can just use those fee waivers and check the box. Transfer returning students that stop out, yes, they can apply for free during this window. Students applying for certificate programs, absolutely. Students applying for nursing programs, kind of mid-degree, this will not apply to them. They will likely still have to pay for that nursing program application because it's mid-program. Students applying for graduate programs, this will not apply to them. Graduate programs do not qualify for this program. So It's only for bachelor degree, associate degree, certificates. Remember, our community colleges are free all the time, all year long. And our private colleges and universities, all of them, really that asterisk is just kind of a little CYA for like DeVry University, some of those for-profit universities, all of the ones that you can think of. Benedictine, Baker University, Southwestern University. I mean, you know, the Newman University, all the ones that we know in Kansas that we work with, they're all going to be free in this window. They're all participating. So all the ones that your students would be applying to, they're in. So other questions about this program? I've had a lot of people reach out and say, well, should I move my event to November 7th through 9th? Should I not? It is totally up to you. We have lots of people doing Apply Kansas over 7th through 9th, November 7th through 9th. It is fine. We have many schools who are still doing it in October. It is, and you could start your event. We have schools that are starting in October, and then they're going to circle back with their students and then have them submit the first week in that window. You could do that too. So again, kind of what you think works best for your students, how you think it'll fit. So.
And can I ask a clarifying question? Did you say that the free window does not open until midnight of the 7th? Or
Like the very
11:59?
beginning of the 7th.
Oh, okay, thank you. Gotcha.
Yes. The 7th through all the way through the 9th. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay. All right. If you think of other things, let me know. Or email me, call me. We're still kind of figuring it all out too. I'll know more after this year once we've been through it once. Also, just be aware that during these days, we're going to be short on application folks, you know, like admissions folks. And as our Apply Kansas program grows, we're just going to be short on admissions folks. So, you know, we've got already 200 schools in Apply Kansas and growing, which is great. So if you're used to having admissions folks come out, that's great. But also if they can't because they're somewhere else, it's not because they don't like you. It's not because they are, it's just because they get booked up. So just be aware of that. That we're just as we get more high schools in Apply Kansas, we're just going to be crowded. That's all. And so think, you know, you just want to think about the events that you'd really like to have them at, and then, you know, get on their calendars early. And also think about where you can do the certain events on your own so that you can share them with other high schools too. Because there's like 400 high schools across Kansas. And not 400 admissions reps. So, and they want to say yes to everybody, by the way. So that's also part of it. All right, let's talk about reporting data. Collecting your data and doing this, I started a couple years ago, really encouraging you guys to think about surveying all your seniors and collecting data towards the end of your semester or the end of the application cycle. So sometime in like November before Thanksgiving. Survey all your seniors. I do a really simple Google survey that you can copy from me. I'll give you starter questions. And if you use my questions for your seniors, then you're going to get all the answers I need for my survey from you. Okay. So like, how many applications did you complete? Names of institutions. One of the questions I ask is how many Kansas public institution applications did they submit? Well, I give that to you in a drop-down box. So your students don't have to know if they are one. You don't have to know if they are one. If it's in the drop-down box, it just is. And then you can add questions to that survey if you want. But basically, if you do that with your students, add a few questions, survey your seniors, you've got half of an advisory lesson already created. All the data comes back for you. It's really easy to turn it around and just send it to me. I'm going to need your summary data back to me by December 1st. Or right around there. That's just when I'm going to start harassing you about it. This is an example of what my report looks like. That's what I prepare for my stakeholders that I do with your data. And if you look at this pie chart here, it's super easy to make from the Excel spreadsheet. And this is what I show our regents about where our applications are. So it'd be really cool to show your principal, like, this is how many 4-year applications we sent. This is how many 2 years. This is how many job applications, etc. Or your parents or your school board or whatever. It's just a really cool visual representation of your senior class. So just an idea, but it's a really slick way to kind of show the work that you did with post-secondary, around post-secondary stuff. So if you're going to collect it for me, I want it to be valuable for you too. So, and this year you do have to submit your site summary survey to me in order to be eligible for All-Star status. So if you want to be an All-Star school, you've got to turn that site summary survey back to me. This was really not a big deal last year. There was really only about 5 schools that didn't, but I'm going to be more of a stickler about it this year.
Okay, next, why apply day? We talked about this. This is a really cool activity. I think we'll have time. So I want you to take a blank piece of paper, and you're going to take your blank piece of paper. Actually, we're going to just jump into Jamboard. But the way you do this, you can take a blank piece of paper. I'll show you really fast. You do this with your faculty, because I don't want to run out of time. So we're going to do it on Jamboard. We're going to do electronically, but I'll show you. And then we'll do the electronic version. This is what you do with your faculty though. Take a blank piece of paper and you fold it into quarters just like this. And then you're going to have them write. You're going to write in each of the quarters these things. Okay. Now, don't worry about doing it real quick. You don't need to, but this is how you do it with your faculty, because I'm going to put a link in the box and we're just going to do it electronically on Jamboard. And then you're going to have them write on the piece of paper one thing about these prompts. But on Jamboard, I'm going to have you write on a Post-it note or something like that for me and for the group. If I can find my chat. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Okay, on Jamboard, go to Jamboard and we'll share this one. And we will, you can put in your Post-it note, you can put your answer in each of the categories, like on a Post-it note, electronic Post-it note anyway. There you go. Just go over to the left and you can find a Post-it note to stick on. And then, oops, that's mine. There we go. Oops. And you can make it bigger or smaller. So you can do this with your faculty as a little precursor to why apply. And give them time. So I would have them fold the paper, write the things in the corner, and then write on there kind of individually, right? Oh, there we go. And then if they're at tables or something, they can kind of share out or whatever. Oops, there we go. So you can see One reason I went to college, I couldn't farm. Love it. How to take notes efficiently. What did you learn about yourself? I did my best work late at night. I'm a procrastinator. I had more perseverance than I thought. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, so that's why I went to college. I love these. Make a better life for myself and my daughter. Gain the education and experience to secure a professional job. This is great. So it just gets the juices flowing a little bit, right? About what college was um, and what we got out of it, right? And then you turn around and you hand your faculty one of our new Why Apply papers, right? And you have them fill that out after they've talked about this and they've done it. And I'll put a link, well, it's on your paper too, and it's on our website, but I don't know. Here we go. I'll go back to our presentation, but let's see, where is it? Now we go back. This is our new Why Apply. So remember I talked about Why Apply. This is something really your faculty does because they write on here, why is it important for students to apply to college? Why? I mean, so it's this dichotomy, right? We know that students with a degree, a certificate, some type of credential beyond high school, they're going to earn more. And the better the credential, the more they're going to earn lifetime wise. Now, again, yes, the welders earn more than teachers. We know that, yes. But we also know that by and large, the data shows that people with a bachelor's degree or beyond, in general, their lifetime earnings are more. And so it's just one of those things that if we can encourage our students to think beyond what they know, this is one of those ways to do that. So one of the things that you can do with this activity is get your faculty to fill these pages out. This page is linked to that page. It's on your linked page as well. But have a day, your Why Apply week, where everybody wears their college gear. You could do a slideshow with this page as well if you want to take a picture with your faculty, or just even have them turn their pages in, do a PowerPoint slideshow that you put on your TV that rolls all through the fall about why they applied to college or why students should apply to college. Post on social media, however you want to do it. There's a lot of different ways you could use this. So I think there's a lot of cool things that you can use with this as far as with your faculty. So, but it's an updated form, and I hope that you will take advantage of it.
All-Star High School program, we talked about this a little bit. This is our optional recognition program. We have it essentially, you guys are all off starting so far because you're Apply Kansas schools. So you have to start with an Apply Kansas event. And then if you do a FAFSA completion event, and this year it's a shorter window, probably January through March, some point in time because of the FAFSA timeline there. And then if you do some type of senior signing day in May, then you do those all in one academic year, then you can qualify to be an all-star high school. We had 97 all-star high schools this past year qualify. And essentially, like I said, you do those 3 events. You do have to submit your site summary survey, like I talked about earlier. And then in April, again, the way you tell me is there's a little survey that I send out in April, and you just say, this was the date of our event. And you just describe what you're doing or what you did or how it went. You just describe what you did for me. With the FAFSA completion event, you can team up with other schools, or if there's an institution in your community that did a FAFSA event for your students, that counts. You don't have to sponsor it at your high school for it to count. So if your local community college did a FAFSA event for your community and you advertised it so your students would go, that counts, absolutely counts. So like I said, we had lots of schools this year. It was really exciting. We recognize all of those schools at the June Kansas Board of Regents meeting. The first year you will get a banner that looks like this. And it says all the 3 events that you have to do each year, because a lot of people think this post-secondary stuff happens in a vacuum. And our steering committee was pretty passionate about like listing out what you have to do to get this award, because post-secondary activities take time and effort and energy, and you guys need to be recognized for doing that, and it's important. After you get that banner, if you win again, are recognized again, you get a sticker to put on your banner. So for each year after that, you hang up your banner, and it's kind of like state athletics, you just keep putting stickers on your banner after that. We also do a cool social media graphic. We invite your superintendent and your principal to listen to the board presentation. We also record the board meeting award presentation and send it to them. We share the social media graphic with your district. So we really try to make that as big of a deal as possible. So we're going to do another breakout room here just for a couple of minutes and talk about senior signing day activities. Actually, no, I'm going to keep you in here because I just have a couple of minutes left and I want to talk about FAFSA too. But senior signing day activities, this is the one thing I hear from counselors that they're like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. And it's not. It's actually the easiest one. It's the most fun. There's so many different ways you can do this. It can be as simple as getting a free banner from like Jostens or Herb Jones or whoever does your graduation announcements. If you ask them, they'll give you a free vinyl banner that says class of 2024. It's white, blank. You can buy a pack of Sharpies and let your students draw on that where they're headed. You can hang that on the wall. It's a really cool way to do that. You could do in all the places you will go bulletin board. You could do posters and have students put their name, 4-year college, 2-year college, community college, trade school, tech school, military, job, and do like a cookie punch reception. So essentially senior signing day is the counterpoint to Apply Kansas. So if Apply Kansas celebrates all of the different applications, senior signing day celebrates all of the decisions that the students make after those applications. And so really, as long as you're celebrating every decision and every senior, and the more that you can advertise that to your community, the underclassmen, the better. We do have schools that do like a big assembly with their senior honors and awards assembly, where they'll be like, and attending, the school of life, Johnny is going to go to work with his parents on the farm, that's okay too. But it doesn't have to be a big assembly for it to count. There's so many different ways. I've got lots of links. I've got lots of pictures. I've got lots of ideas on if you have ideas or want ideas. There's so many cool ways you can do this. So lots of things to share with you here on that. But let me take the remaining time we've got and let's jump into FAFSA because I don't want to shortchange you on that one. The FAFSA. Everything's changing this year. A better FAFSA. Okay, I'm super not joking. This is the name they gave it. This is their tagline, a better FAFSA. Okay. Anyway, so this comes out of the FAFSA Simplification Act from August 2020. The 3 goals for what is coming out of this process is that expanded eligibility for students, reduce barriers for student populations, so that's good, and then a better user experience for the FAFSA form. Okay. Better FAFSA training toolkit. I put this link here. This is actually a really great resource from NCAN for counselors, designed for counselors. So they will continue updating it. This is on your link list as well. And I got a couple of resources out of there. I really like it. So definitely put that on your radar for this fall. Digging into the simplified form, while the form is going to be more simple, the rollout, there's nothing going to be simple about the rollout. We're looking for a reduced number of questions, so that's positive. we're looking for better skip logic. So if I answer this question and the next question doesn't apply to me, I'll skip those. So again, reducing the number of questions. So that's exciting. The form is intended to be a role-based form. And even for our high school seniors, I really think their intention is for it to start with the student. And so the student will fill out the FAFSA first. They'll put their parent information. Parents are now going to be called contributors. And contributors, they're going to put their parent information in with parent email, and then the student's going to complete their information and push submit. And now the contributor, the parent, is going to get an invitation to complete their part. So that's how that's going to work. Meaning it starts with the student and it rolls to the next person. That's what role-based means. Tax information ideally will be transferred electronically for all contributors. Once they give their consent for that to happen, then it will just automatically be transferred electronically. So ideally that's positive. And then the form should open sometime before January 1st, 2024, because it has to by law. They said sometime in December, but again, that date keeps changing. Was there a question?
Yeah, I do. A couple of them. So for all contributors, does that mean it's changed now? If they file separately, they can get it electronically for parents who are married filing separately?
I believe so.
Okay, because before, if there wasn't one tax form, they had to manually enter that information in.
Yes, I believe so, because I think they'll be able to, yes, because, and the other question was, will everyone need FSA IDs? And the answer is yes. All students, all contributors will need electronic FSA IDs. And so that actually is something you can do this fall in most cases. Now, while the FAFSA is not something you can do this fall, you can take your students and your parents through the electronic FSA ID process now. In most cases, I'll talk about that in a minute. The signature page is going away, but Jill, to your question, I think because they all have FSA IDs, they'll be able to do their taxes electronically separately. Does that make sense? Because it all be connected electronically, in that way. Now, with that being said, that might be a good question to ask your, the institutions too, just to be sure.
Also, and so Jamie has a question or has a comment on Mission Valley, and I also wanted to ask him, so he had shared in a breakout session that he plans to do the FAFSA on the same day as the Apply Kansas. Is that, you're just doing the FSA part of it then, Jamie, since we don't know if it'll be open by then?
If it's not open via the website, the Going Mary FAFSA completion form will be. And since students are allowed to use a third party to go and submit their FAFSA applications, then Going Mary will go ahead and hold on to the application until it becomes available for the FAFSA to be submitted, and they'll go ahead and submit the form then.
Oh, I'm not familiar with Go Mary, so I'll have, or Going Mary.
It's something to go ahead and look at. Going Mary is a standardized, and I don't get paid to go ahead and promote Going Mary at all. We just use it for our school because it has a means for each one of the students to go and see what scholarships they're eligible for. And it's a standardized application process. And so the students can go straight through them to apply for scholarships across the nation. Going Mary is paid for by the actual scholarships themselves to go ahead and provide this service. So it's completely free to the students. And you're able to go ahead and track the number of scholarships that students are applying for and have submitted, and as well as request, recommendation forms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they have their own FAFSA completion form, and it just provides a different format. And it's usually my students and parents who are first-time college students are very unfamiliar with the FAFSA form online because it is pretty government intensive. And so the Going Mary site has, it's just visually more appealing and simpler for them to read, and it has a lot of help topics on there. So just something to think about. And if you want more questions on it, I can email you or you can just look up goingmary.com and get more information that way.
Right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so the FAFSA will not be open in October at all. Now, next year, it'll be open back again October 1st. So it's just this year that's going to be wonky. It won't be open. Honestly, I would put January in your brain. And when it opens, it will open probably sometime the last week in December. But you also need to know that the institutions will not see this either, and they haven't connected their information to the FAFSA either. So even though our students might have access to the FAFSA, they can put their information in. It's not going to transfer very quickly to the universities because with the simplified questions and all that stuff, it's not going to match up to their database either because they haven't seen the changes. So they've got to see the changes to change their stuff. So honestly, the instant that our institutions get to see it, they're going to be fixing stuff on the fly. We're going to be learning about it and getting our students. Everybody's going to need some grace and nothing's going to happen fast. Does that make sense? Because nobody's seen it. Nobody's seen anything. So it'll be like kind of like the old days when it opened on January 1st, except the universities are going to have to do some tech changes on the fly as well for this year.
So Tara,
But
what do you expect from us then for a FAFSA completion event this year, since it's going to be later and it's not going to look the same? Like, do we wait until January and then we have one, or is that too late, or what do you think?
Nope, because our students are going to need help. I mean, they're just going to need help. So CASFA, so my goal is, okay, first of all, I'm not a FAFSA expert. I'm not. I'm one of you. So call your financial aid offices because they're going to learn the ins and outs of all the stuff and all the things. Oh, one more thing I want to say about FAFSA, FSAID. So you can do the FSAID with your families. That's something you can do this fall. That's not a bad thing to try to do in advance. So that might be something if you want to tag to your, Apply Kansas event, can. Parents and students are going to need one. Now, one thing that's going to change, this isn't coming until the new FAFSA opens, is that students and contributors without a Social Security number will be able to create an FSAID, and they haven't been able to in the past. Now, students who are not eligible for federal aid still won't be eligible for federal aid. Doesn't make sense to create an FSAID. If they're undocumented, don't have them make an FSAID. But if the students are eligible and their parents are undocumented, now they can create an FSAID and help their student. Or if their parents are abroad, now they can create an FSAID and help them, which is new, and that could benefit the process. This feature will open with the new FAFSA, so it's not going to come until the spring, but it is coming, which is a positive. Okay, so sorry, that's a new feature that's coming. And there are exceptions, there's loopholes, there are ins and outs that our financial aid office folks will help you with as we figure all this stuff out. Now, CASPA, what I was going to tell you is they have a great training resource for counselors every year. This year, more important than ever, right? If you click on this link right now, it'll be last year's training, so don't go there. But this is what their training is. And so this is what their trainings are going to be this year. The first one is September 26th. And so they're doing 90 minutes of literally what I just took you through in 3 or 4. And then, scholarships, unusual circumstances, all that stuff. And then in January, they're going to do a screenshot walkthrough of the FAFSA for you. They're also going to do, they've never done this before, a students and family session about setting up your FSAID and preparing for FAFSA. So I love that. Again, it says tentative right now. I'm hoping that materializes for you. So as soon as this becomes live and registration becomes live, I'm going to push this out to Apply Kansas, and we'll get this out as soon as I can. And I'm pushing stuff like this out all year, all season, as fast as I can. And then, of course, financial aid offers at the end of March. So everything's just going to be condensed. That's all I'm going to say. It's all still going to happen. It's just going to be condensed, and it's going to be slow and then fast. You know, it's just all going to be condensed. So, yeah, not ideal, but I do think our institutions will really be helping us in this too. So I probably would reach out to your local institutions and see if they would be willing to sponsor something too in January,
Thanks, Natalie.
you know, something like that. Okay, last thing I was going to show you, and then I can hang out for more questions too. Last thing I want to show you, just some resources. Again, usual reminders. If you're not connected with Great Plains ACAC or JPACAC, please consider getting connected. This is a professional organization for high school and college, focused specifically on college admissions. And they work together to make college admissions transparent and equitable and good for students. And so really, this is a great way for you to get the front lines, current affairs, things about college admissions in your inbox, in your face, and keep you kind of in the know about what's happening in the admissions world. So it's $25 for membership each year. And if you've got more than one counselor in your office, it's $50 for your whole office. Their conference is this spring in the Kansas City, Missouri area. And again, it covers Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So 3 states, a lot of the same demographics, a lot of the same politics, a lot of the same type of schools, and lots to learn. They do a really great lunch and learn series. They do a newsletter. They have college tours. They have events, lots of networking. It's a really great resource and organization. I can't encourage it enough for you. Also, rep visits. If you're not familiar with this, this is a free resource for colleges to come visit your high school. It is easy to sign up. You go there and basically you set up the schedule of when colleges can come visit you. You set up when they can come, what the visit looks like, how often, whatever. And then colleges see your schedule and when they're available, and they just click sign up. It's so easy. There's no emailing back and forth, nothing. If now it doesn't work with your calendar, you can cancel it or whatever, but it's so easy. If you have a registrar or administrative assistant that does it, it's even easy for them. But it literally is, once you set it up, it's one and done. Our colleges love this, and it will get you access to more colleges coming to visit your high school too. So it saves you time and energy and gets more colleges to come visit your students. I can't recommend it enough for you. Again, we talked about College Apply Kansas website, and then also make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram, stuff like that. So also make sure that you're registered as an Apply Kansas school. I think most of you are. I'm still trying to kind of track that for you, but check the list, and this is on your links as well. Make sure you've registered, make sure you've ordered your giveaway items, your swag items. So check the list there, because I'm going to be in mailing things out soon. So if you haven't ordered your swag, you won't get any. You have to order to get some. So make sure that you've ordered it to make sure that I will mail it to you. So just double check the list there. And if you're not registered, you're not getting my emails. I sent an email yesterday. So if you did not get an email from me yesterday, you are not registered as an Apply Kansas school. So that's a good double check. Just double check those 2 things, because again, you're going to hear more about FAFSA all throughout the fall on my email list. So that's what I've got. We're 5 minutes over. So I'll hang out here if you guys have more questions. I really, really appreciate you guys taking time. Oh, you guys are the best. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I'll hang out if you've got more questions, but have a great rest of your week.